welcome back to a brand new episode of The Witching Hour. I am Perri Nemiroff, and I'm sitting across from my co-host, Haleigh Fouch.
Hello.
I almost forgot your name for a second. It's because we have some really cool people in the studio today.
Yes.
I think you guys have heard this from me already. I don't know if everyone got your opinion on the movie, but I'm pretty sure it's safe to say. Wasn't that a big for an awkward intro?
That's like a live review to get out there.
Two very big fans of the upcoming movie, Ready or Not, in the room. And we have the team behind the film here with us right now. It is Radio Silence. Would you guys mind introducing yourselves and your roles within the group briefly?
Yeah, I'm Tyler Gillett. I'm one of the directors.
Matt Bettinelli-Olpin, also one of the directors.
And I'm Chad Villella. I'm the executive producer on Ready or Not.
Okay, so...
Wait, are we here to talk about Ready or Not?
Oh, wait, fuck, I don't
One
know
more
about
plug.
another movie.
Ready or
Wow.
Not. Yeah.
So we've got a team that's been together for a little while now, so we want to go back to the beginning. I have some vague details on how you guys all met, but just so our listeners who don't know you guys very well right now can kind of catch up, can you give us the story of the very beginnings of Radio
this will probably
Silence?
take 50 minutes, and then we'll have
Right,
just
yeah.
like 5 minutes
Then
to
save
talk about
10
the
minutes
movie.
for spoilers.
Yeah. We started working together 10 years ago. And you, Chad and Matt have been working together a couple years even before that, right?
Yeah,
you guys
maybe
know
like
each other
2
for
years.
12 years?
Yeah, July 2007.
Yeah, we started this like online thing called Chad, Matt, and Rob, and we were doing internet shorts, like 2007, 2008.
Yep.
And then I worked with Tyler. We worked over at New Line, and we were like, we gotta make some stuff, and we all started working together and kind of continued that for another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And then VHS happened.
Yeah.
Brad Miska reached out to us, Bloody Disgusting, brought us into that anthology, and that was the first thing that I think we screened theatrically at Sundance.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was like the leveling up of what we were doing in the digital space, and we've continued to work together ever since. For some strange reason.
That was good. We did good on that one. Yeah, that was like a good concise
I was
history.
impressed.
Yeah.
What about falling into each of your respective positions? Because I also know you guys both direct, but Samara was just in the studio and she was telling me that like one of you specifies in one area of the filmmaking process and the other does the other. So how did you guys all fall into your positions?
I mean, I think that's an evolution that started when we first started working together. You know, we were working with the money that was in our pockets, and we didn't have the time to really hire a bunch of people and create a big production. So we were learning how to do everything on our own. And back then there were 4 of us and then 5 of us working on
5 and then 4.
Yeah, working on this wild sort of, you know, in the wild west of the digital landscape of YouTube at the time. And so we learned how to do everything. And I think over the course of making 4 or 5 smaller projects together, I think that we all had specific interests going into those projects, but I think we all sort of had specialties. We kind of found our niches within the process, and as we've evolved and the projects that we've made have evolved, I think that the collaboration has always been the same, but I think those specialties have become a little bit more defined, and there's always been enough overlap that we're able to call bullshit on each other. Like if someone's making
That's
a bad
really the
decision,
key.
yeah, or like fighting for something that's not really the best idea, there's a shorthand now where it's like, come on, you have
Surround
to defend
yourself
it
with
better
people
than
who will
that.
say no.
I have one follow-up to that. So can you guys each name that one of the others specifies in that you say to yourself, like, thank God he's good at that, because I would never want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, Matt, when he sits down at the computer to write, it like the story comes out of him in a way that I think is intimidating and terrifying for most people. And Matt's just like, yeah, no, that's just my thing.
You guys need us to compliment each other now, right? That's not a thing. Shit.
You should have given us criticisms for everybody, because then that one would have been
Well, that would have been the rest
much
of the
more
fucking
interesting.
podcast.
Yeah, the podcast.
Can we curse on this?
Go for it.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure. Yeah.
Oh shit! Well, mine was easy. And now if we're gonna, you guys.
Now
now
we
we
get
can
to
hear
lay
it
into you a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, I know one thing Tyler's really good at is communicating. It's like, you know, like when we're in like rooms, it's like a lot of times like you're good at it. Chad and I both kind of are good at doing the, you know, and like nonverbal communication. Chad, I don't know. What are you good at, man?
I guess I play French horn, and cool. I just lay on it every now and then, and just whenever we're in the rut of things, I like to give a nice little blast of the horn and make sure it's all going smoothly.
No one else is bringing
Chad
it to the
holds
table.
everything
Yeah,
together.
you know that.
Chad
Yeah.
is the guy that like
kind of the
kazoo.
adult a little bit.
Yeah, sort of the adult in the room. Yeah.
How does that play out practically when you're on set shooting a scene? Like, would we find you in that day if you're shooting, let's say, one of the action scenes or something like that?
Well, Tyler's dealing with DP a lot. I'm dealing with the actors a lot. Chad's dealing with the other departments. But there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of conversation. It's never like, go do you. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's a lot of work. You could have fucking 20 people and be like, not enough.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not like, you know, when a kid is denied something from one parent, they ask the same thing from another and get a different answer. Like, you could come to any of us and ask the same question and get the same answer because our way of working is that we create as much creative friction as possible as early as possible so that by the time we get to set.
Between us.
Yeah, that between us and with the writers and like working on what's it really about? Like, what are we trying to say with this scene? What's the blocking? Like, everything is so planned going into it that once we're on set, it's this really sort of well-oiled machine.
That never goes as planned, but then at least we're prepared to, dodge and duck as necessary.
Did anyone on Ready or Not try to play the mom or dad game? Like they wanted something to be a certain way and got a no from one of you, so
I
they
don't
went to
know.
the other?
I don't know.
If they did, I don't know if we.
I think the odd challenge of Ready or Not is that there were some scenes where there were nine characters with speaking roles. So there were often times where it was like, I'd be talking to Henry and you'd be talking to Adam, or that there was a little bit of group communication happening just because, for the sake of time and the need to like make our days and get all of the coverage. There was a little bit of that, but I don't think there was ever.
Yeah, I don't think we ever had because we make it really clear. I think one of the things that happens when you're on like set with us, it's like we make it really clear like when you get an answer, like the conversation can happen. Then it's always a conversation. So even if someone did do that, it just feel like a continuation of the same conversation, if that makes sense. So it wouldn't even.
Right. And everybody would know that person tried to do that, like, almost immediately. Like, I know when we were doing budget stuff, that happened a little bit. They're like, you got to talk to them about get this budget down. I'm like, no, we need this. Like, that type of thing happened. But it was never an issue, and we were able to, like, address it in a way where we were able to get exactly what we wanted creatively out of it.
Where does this project come up and come along? Because we hear a lot from filmmakers in here, like keep it contained, keep it small, you can get your movie made. This is like a very ambitious, like you said, 9 speaking actors in one scene.
Yeah.
Calls for a very large mansion and a lot of really stunning, sort of imagery on film. So where did that go? Like, yeah, we can make this happen.
Being over ambitious, I think.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and that's something we've done from forever when we had no money, just shooting stuff, like a block away from here, actually. We'd just be like, well, let's make it feel like this, and then we'll do it for this. And on this movie, I mean, our initial budgets on this movie came in at almost 3 times the finished budget. Yeah. And, Searchlight, who was wonderful to work with and, like, just could not have asked for a better partner in this. But, they wanted to make it for a certain number, and so they kept working with us on it to get it there. And one of the things that was so cool about that is none of the movie ever got sacrificed in it. Like, we didn't have as many scenes and stuff, but at the end of the day, you're like, those probably would have all been cut anyways. Like, it just made us refine until it was like, how do we make this movie feel like more than it is? When also you could look at it and be like, well, they're in a house for most of the movie, But our goal shooting was to never make it feel like this is a house movie.
Well, I think the production design is really
Andrew Stern,
rich and beautiful, and it goes a long way. Like, it's also a very big house, which helps.
Right,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Because it's 3 houses.
It's 3 houses, yeah. We
Combined-
3 different houses
yeah,
pieced
combined
together.
locations. Yeah. And then of course, I mean, so much of that too is just how it's photographed.
Yeah.
And having a DP that really understood that I needed to have this cinematic look and feel traditional and feel really naturalistic, and then kind of devolve, sort of start classic and a little more steady, and then fall apart as we are going deeper and deeper into Grace's Nightmare. It gets a little bit more handheld, and so I think it was. I mean, look, it's such a testament. The look of the movie and the fact that it looks like it costs more than it does is really a testament to the departments and the work that they did in bringing this crazy sort of elevated thing to life in front of the lens.
What was it like between Devil's Due and this? Because I know you guys jumped from short to feature, short, feature again, but Devil's Due, what did it come out in 2014?
Yep, January
And
2014.
As far as I can remember, it was fairly successful at the box office. So was there anything...
Was it?
Yeah.
Didn't it open up with a pretty big opening weekend, early January?
Depends on who you ask. Yeah.
So what was the response immediately after that came out, and why did it take this amount of time in order for Ready or Not to get the green light?
It's a good question.
It's a
I
really
mean,
good question.
it's funny. It's something that like we talk about a lot because Devil's Due did not do great and break down a bunch of doors for us, but it was a wonderful learning experience. and a great just overall. I mean, I don't think any of the stuff we've done since then we could have done had we not done that. But we were not allowed to go make another studio movie after that. And so we called up
jail.
Yeah. So we called up Brad Miska, who we'd made VHS with, actually called us. He'd been basically on our back since VHS, being like, let's make something else together. And then so after that, we were kind of like, okay, we got to go like wash off this thing and just try something totally different, which is weird because we actually went back to work with the exact same people we worked with before. And so we just made Southbound in the interim. And then right after Southbound, we got attached to Ready or Not. But the process from getting Ready or Not to screen was
3 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the big lesson that we learned right after Devil's Due was make something that you're really passionate about, that you want to watch, you know? Like, we're super proud of that movie, and we knew that found footage, you know, we did it with VHS, we did it in some of our shorts. Found footage isn't always the most well-received theatrically, especially around town, like finding the next job or finding somebody else to believe in you that way. But in a way, it's harder than making a lot of movies because you don't have things to use like close-ups or score or anything else that would...
Cinematic devices.
Yeah,
that
cinematic
we're also used to.
devices that most movies are made with. So we were able to learn off of that. And again, just getting into the whole Southbound of it all, we wanted to work with people that we love and adore, and like going back to the whole VHS family and working with everybody again on the story that we are also intimately involved with, from initial concept to writing to scripts to shooting, and even like down to the edits when we're helping each other out on edits. Like that sense of family is like that was a lot of fun for us, and we very luckily found it again with the script for Ready or Not, with the producers Trip Vincent, Jamie Vanderbilt, the writers Guy Busick and Ryan Murphy, Ryan Christopher Murphy. But
get real on the record here.
But like being able to have like a good time with people that, you know, whose opinions you respect, and making something that you're absolutely adamant that you want to watch, was one of the bigger lessons of that experience.
Just to give our viewers a little background here, we're talking about a movie that, and you guys can correct us if Box Office Mojo is wrong, but a reported production budget of $7 million that opened up a little north of $8 million. So, and eventually 36 million, almost 37 million worldwide. That doesn't sound like a bust to me.
No, we could have used you in like February of 2014 to like be the one out there tooting our horn.
I think that things have changed a little bit, and I think one of the reasons, I think looking at that now, we movies that are made at that budget are received a little differently now. I think that the appetite for them has changed a little bit, and I think that the audience wants to kind of vote for an underdog movie a little bit more. And there was something weird that happened with Devil's Due where, you know, we were shooting a movie that had this really homegrown, home video, intimate feel to it that was being released by Big Fox. So there was a perception, there was a sort of perception gap between what audiences expected the movie to be and ultimately what it was. And a lot of that just comes down to the format. I think when you see the fanfare in front of a movie, there's an expectation of what the experience of it's going to be, and we are proud of the movie that we made, and we think that the experience
we pushed against the grain
up.
really hard on it. That was one of the things that I think is so interesting, is that it gets dropped into just like found footage trash can. And we're like, man, we're making a studio movie using iPhones and like we are pushing boundaries every way that we can. And then you kind of sit back and you're like, oh, no one cares.
And there's not really, and you don't really have. I think when an indie film gets made that way, that's part of the dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a conversation about the making of it that happens before anyone sees it that I think gives the audience additional context to enjoy the film in a different way. And with a wide release like Devil's Due. It has to land and sort of stand on its own, and that's I don't know. It was an interesting experience.
This conversation is making me think of a Variety article I was just reading a little while ago, and I'm curious, having worked with Big Fox on Devil's Due and now Fox Searchlight on Ready or Not, especially with the Disney merger that happened earlier this year, did you guys notice any difference on your end as far as the distribution process and the marketing process went?
None. Mm-hmm. I mean, none. Like, if there was any, we didn't hear about it, and we've been thrilled with the marketing for this movie. It's been by far the best experience we've had with that. And also in the making of, I mean, everybody knew the Disney thing was coming during it, and it's like nothing got watered down. If anything, they were like, no, go for it more. Like there was zero what you might expect from some like gigantic merger between Disney and Fox.
We gotta play it safe to like keep our jobs and keep our projects.
Definitely
It was
no
the
playing it
opposite.
safe.
Yeah,
It
I
is
think
so
it was
encouraging hearing
Yeah, I
that.
actually think it was more like, wow, okay, this thing is happening. We have to set a precedent for the kind of crazy movies that we hope to make, and if we can set that precedent early, then hopefully the things that follow can fall somewhere in this like wide guardrail.
I have my fingers crossed for that
Right.
exact
Yes,
thing to
us
happen.
as well.
Yeah.
Us as well.
The marketing was really strong. Like that trailer dropped and it just instantly, I feel like everybody I knew was like, I'm seeing that. Like I want to see that movie. I
That's
have
great.
to agree that they knocked that out of the park. I want to jump back to something you mentioned, which is filming in 3 houses. How do you create geography in your film
really
when
good
you're
question.
doing that?
Yeah, it's a great question.
I mean, we wanted to shoot practically because one of the things that we found important and that we think is important in most thrillers where someone's on the run and you're following them through a space is that you're able to carry the characters from one space to the other. When you start cutting around corners, it starts the audience even subconsciously is aware that there's a fabrication of space happening, and for us, it was there are a literal of bizarre geography cheats in the movie. We actually our
Well, we did
production
intentionally.
designer,
We're like, let's not make it too literal.
Too
like,
literal.
So we're afraid then you know.
Right, and early on, be more literal early on with the geography,
Yeah,
so
and
that
then-
the audience has more of a sense of where they are, and then as again the movie kind of falls apart, we abandon the logic of the house a little bit, and Grace is feeling more lost, and the audience is feeling more lost. But I mean, Andrew Stern, our designer, he printed out the blueprints of the houses, and when we were blocking the scenes, we were conscious to create some continuity between those spaces.
It was more of having continuity between spaces in these different scenes, but never being like, here is the whole house. There's never a wide shot of the house. You never see the roof. You never see the edges. And it was all this kind of, we had that version, and we were like, it doesn't work. It actually makes it feel smaller, because then all of a sudden you understand the constraints.
This is the most random observation, but I can't get out of my head the fountain in the backyard makes me think of Billy Madison.
Well, it is the Billy
It is
Madison.
a fountain from Billy Madison.
It is.
Oh, wow.
Yes, one of the main locations
Let
that we
me be
use.
the first and only person to actually make that connection.
Yeah.
I thought it was a me problem.
No,
No,
yeah.
it's the
No,
real
Norm
yeah, we
deal.
kept our
Macdonald
eye
should
out
be
for the
there.
swan that never showed up. So it's like,
I might know that movie from start to finish.
So
It's
Right.
also on the
the
stairs.
staircase, all of the crew, the stairs.
That's the Wham staircase.
Yeah, that's the
Tumble for you.
Now I like your movie 10 times more than I already did.
We definitely have videos of us on that stair.
Wouldn't you?
I saw that in the fountain is in an episode of The Boys I watched last night,
yeah.
Yeah.
and they had the same exact opening shot. I was
There's
like,
no way
over
I'm that
top.
far ahead enough in The Boys to actually pick
Yeah.
up on that because I would have noticed.
Handmaid's
Oh, yeah,
Tale.
we will.
The sixth episode of this season of Handmaid's Tale, also heavily featured in that episode.
Parkwood Estate is what it's
If
called.
that's when my sister had her baby, that's where I stopped.
Man.
But I have to circle back about that. If I have the nerve, I will circle back
Catch up on
eventually.
the fountain, Perry.
Yeah.
I know. I should just be the expert in the Billy Madison
Yeah.
fountain on the big screen. We're also big fans of Samara Weaving, and we are so happy that she scored the lead role in this film. So
are we.
why did you guys go out and offer the part to her? I assume it has something to do with the babysitter?
It actually has more to do. It definitely, she was great in that, but it actually has a lot to do with Searchlight loved her, and they really were like, you guys really should look at her, because they worked with her on 3 billboards. And
I didn't make that
yeah,
connection.
and so we were like, okay, cool. And then we met her, and we were like, oh, fuck. Like, she has that, like, vulnerability that, like, creates an empathy, but she's also very strong and very, like, her foundation is very firm. And so, like, there's this amazing mix that is hard to find, where you're like, oh, fuck, I really root for her as the underdog, but also I believe that she can kick ass. And, I mean, once you meet her, you're like, oh, shit, please, oh, God, I hope she takes the role. I mean, we went from, like, sure, let's meet her and see what this is all about, and then being like, oh, shit, gotta have her.
Before they suggested her to you, I'm just curious, what did you picture for that role? Is it something drastically different than what she brought to it?
I mean, honestly, I think she brought such a specific thing. I don't really even remember.
No.
Like,
I mean, every essence we talked about, like that punk rock vibe, like the tattoos, those are some artist tattoos you see, like the little chili pepper on her hand and stuff like that. It was like this nice rebellious nature against, this uber rich family, and she just embodied it, like, right from the start.
Yeah, there
we
was
did just find out that she didn't want to do it originally, though.
Yeah, no, she didn't want to do it. No,
Yeah,
and her fiance read the
read
script
it.
and was
Yeah.
like, you gotta do this.
Yeah.
But she
There was
just told us
also-
that like a week ago.
She also, there's a fearlessness with the way that I think she approaches the collaboration as well, which was a really natural fit for us. Like she just
She just joined the team.
she joined the team immediately, and she was not self-conscious about pitching her ideas and pitching her versions of how a scene or which should be blocked or take place, and then just the fearlessness of having to do so much of what that role requires physically. I mean, the
physically
amount of
it's-
action and the amount of stunt work that she was like, no, I got this. I want to try this, and then just like pulls it off fluently.
It's also
it was
she was
really
able
incredible.
to like we're all dudes in our like 40s, almost 40s, and so we relied on her a lot to like bring an honesty to the character because we're like we can't tell you what that is. We don't know what that is. Do you know what I mean? So we relied on her a lot to be like, well, this is how this works. So it was a really great collaboration.
Can I put her on the spot really quickly? We did a Collider Spotlight piece on her, and one of my favorite new questions to ask, because I am obsessed with looking on someone's IMDb page, and in particular the trivia section, because you just find the weirdest shit in that trivia section, and she has next to nothing weird. So I told her to pitch 3 things, and she gave me 3 good things, but then she was very disappointed in herself after that she couldn't think of any like weird habits or anything. So from your perspective, as the folks who worked on this movie with her, what is something you would add to her IMDb trivia page?
Well, that's really good.
Your weirdest Samara Weaving trivia.
I think I got
Oh,
that
man.
she adopted a dog, which obviously pleases us both.
Right.
If she could only eat one food for the rest of her life, it would be cheese. And then the first one, it's escaping me. I can find it out, though.
Those sound pretty relatable, frankly.
She might kill us, but
Right.
I know that she was so exhausted after one of our shoots that she fell asleep with her hand in a pizza.
box. Yeah.
That's funny, because the other one I have here is that she's an insomniac.
Oh.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
I'm an
Yeah.
insomniac, and I have to watch cartoons to fall asleep, like Bob's Burgers and Rick and Morty.
Right.
Or do a film as exhausting as this one.
Yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
that trivia makes me want to go out and adopt a dog and name it Cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
I'm such
sounds
a
like
Samara
a really
fan.
good day, honestly.
Yeah.
I will throw this back in the same direction and ask about casting Adam Brody, because I did not watch The OC. I know him as the creepy guy from Jennifer's Body. And I was like, oh, shit, he's awesome. Like, he got me in this movie. How did you land on him for that role?
Honestly, that was another Searchlight pitch too. They
Searchlight, they know what they're
know
doing
what's
over
up.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they we did a call with them. I think we were scouting. We were driving through like rural.
We did a FaceTime driving
Toronto.
around.
Yeah, and talking with him, and his take on the character on the what's on the page and what Adam did with it. There is there's a real evolution in between those two things, and I think what he brought to that character was something that was so unexpected for us, and elevates the emotionality of the movie in a way that I don't think was there to begin with. Daniel on the page was this kind of jokester, and Adam
More drunk, more funny, less dark.
Yeah, and Adam brought this kind of desperation to it that that we think, because there's so much of him, early in the movie, it gives the audience and the movie permission to actually hit some really dark, genuine, dramatic moments, and he's that throughout the movie. He kind of grounds the insanity of the family in a way that just pulls us back into reality when we need it. It never, like, just when you think the movie's gonna go off the rails, you have a scene with him, and he brings you back to the kind of tragedy of this whole night. And I mean, he's incredible to work with.
Yeah,
he's really
he was
amazing.
He fucking exceeded all our expectations. And I was a huge OC fan. I watched all of it.
Right on.
And I remember when they pitched it, and I've never told him this, so hopefully he doesn't get mad, but I was like, interesting. And then we talked to him on that call, and I always remember this moment at the end. He said, do you guys remember this? That he goes, it was very, they're always like, you kind of are testing each other out, and it's always kind of surface. And it was like, I like this, and everybody talks about stuff. But then at the end, he was like, well, guys, good luck with everything. I mean, or not. But it was like this.
It was pretty great.
It was great. And it was like, I remember when we hung up, and I was like, oh my God, that was awesome. Like, it was, because it was like this, it was very honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, this is going to be exciting.
whether it's him or someone else in this ensemble, because you do have a pretty epic ensemble here, who was kind of, I guess, like the family MVP to you, or maybe someone that went so above and beyond what you originally envisioned for that role?
I'd say Henry Czerny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he brought the role of Tony to life in like such an incredible way. Like he even went out and found a Latin professor to help him with the Latin for the Black Mass for the ritual scene, and he went above and beyond every single day.
I think that's true for everybody, though.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, I mean, I think
Nikki as Aunt Haleigh.
Right, Nikki is Aunt Haleigh. Like, we all wanted it to be that. We didn't. I mean, even when we were shooting, we were like, okay, we got to get safe takes. You know, like what's in the movie
Turn the
most
volume
of
down.
like right what we wanted. But you know, you're shooting it and you're like, is this gonna fucking work? Because like Samara is so grounded and Adam Brody is so grounded, and then you have like Nikki being like so big, and we're like, in our version of the movie, that's what we want. But you know, you never know if it's gonna work. So we would get like, let's just do it like way more grounded. We didn't use any of that. We went for like because she killed it, but like she did. I mean, everybody fucking.
There's this
like,
weird feeling
Andy was
like
fantastic.
Andy, I mean, my
doing
God.
this type of movie for the first time in her career was just like, oh, this is going to be fun.
And
Let's
Andy's
see what she
emotional
brings to
scene
it.
with Mark,
Yeah.
it kind of is like the keystone to the whole movie, where you're like, oh, this is really what the whole thing is about. Just mom and son having this fucking conversation here, like
there's
on
this weird
that
feeling
family
of
side.
like inevitability when you've made a project and you realize that you cannot imagine anyone other than who is in the role, that there's this alchemy that kind of takes shape over the process and then over the the post process.
I mean, John Ralston is Steven,
Yeah, it's just
aka
like-
Terminator 2.
it's and that is a lot of that is just, I mean, a lot of it is hard work and it's writing and it's directing and it's all of this, but a lot of it too is just
It's just alchemy.
it's
It's
just
just magic.
luck. Like
Yeah.
and sometimes the wind blows your way and you get this incredible group of people
And they're all still friends now, which is like
Yeah.
awesome. And I like that's one of the things I think we're most proud about is like they're all on text chains together. They all hang out and kick it. You know, they'll see Instagram
We're not
posts.
invited, though, so
We're never invited, but they at least like each other. We gave them a bonding experience, even if it's against us. But like their Instagram posts and everything, they're all together having a good time. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool.
How did you find directing that many actors at a time? What's your practical advice to get that right?
It was prep, and it was, you know, the script is so good, and it's honestly, I think a lot of it is the script's really well written, so there weren't a lot of like, I don't understand it kind of, like we've worked on things before where actors are like, I literally don't understand what the fuck this scene is about. There was none of that, you know. This was like everybody understood, everybody got it, but I think one of the things that really worked for us and hopefully the cast is that everybody had their character that was like this box, but then we never were like, you need to be in this box. It was like, do what you want to do that will make this feel right to you.
make you feel lived in and
make it feel authentic. It's like we were talking about earlier with Adam. Like his character was slightly different on the page, but what he did with it felt very grounded and very authentic. And I think that's true for everybody across the board. It was never like, say it this way, do that thing. You know, it was more like, all right, everybody find their way through this, and we're gonna all be here together holding hands and make sure we get there.
Did you guys enjoy working on an
Hated it.
ensemble film as opposed to a more, focused story?
it's pretty terrible.
I loved it. I mean,
No, it was so much
Alright.
fun. No,
I
I
loved
think
it.
the other challenge is just blocking.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in a
Blocking.
scene
Fucking.
with 9 people, and one of the things that we really wanted to do, because the easy way to shoot a scene like that is to just have everyone stand stationary and cover it out like you would imagine you do if you had as little time as we had. But
Yeah.
for us, it was really about creating a lot of motion and movement. And I think once the actors were up and were moving in this space, I actually think it sort of helps the energy of their characters and who they are, and you start getting a lot of really fun, interesting visual surprises and also just kind of performance surprises that you maybe wouldn't normally have. It's not this wooden, stilted, shot reverse shot thing. Now there's suddenly a bit of movement and characters are crossing frame and people are sitting down with each other and standing up, and there's a real sense of evolution in those scenes, and with more characters there's more of that. So it's the scenes become more dynamic in a way that we thought just not only fit the kind of weird ensemble of the family, but it also helped us use the fucking house, right? Those spaces are so big, it helped us see more of that.
And story-wise, because everybody has such a specific point of view, so everybody got to embody something very clean about how the night's gonna go, or whether they're, you know, like Christian's on one end as Fitch being like, is this for real, you know? And then you have Nikki on the other end as Haleigh. You have to embody everything in that cast. I'd do it again to answer your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
In your downtime, did you guys ever play board games, card games, hide and seek?
On the movie?
You guys should have. That would have
We
been
should
good.
have.
Did you have
Yeah,
downtime?
yeah,
A good bonding
Tell us
experience.
about the version of making this happen that you wish we had.
I know the cast had games. They were playing some games. I think Christian or Mark brought a game that involved words and guessing words. We never quite understood it because we'd play for like 2 minutes and be like, oh, we gotta go. I don't understand it. But I know they all played that the whole time.
The green room on set was always the place that I wanted to spend more time.
Totally.
But it was like you'd cross it and you'd hear a bunch of laughter and they'd be fucking around doing something. But you were on your way to like have a really difficult conversation or like
Right, gotta go figure out
or how to make it
cut
gay.
the scene.
and it was, but there was always some kind of weird game happening with the cast.
I have so many spoilery questions about just like the whole premise and how it evolves. Before we kind of, tip the scale over, do we want to ask our final, like our last two regular questions?
classic
I don't want to
non-spoilery
I don't
questions.
want to miss them this time.
Yeah,
You go
alright.
first. You pick one.
Okay.
Surprise me.
Okay. You always put me on the spot
Not
over
really.
here. Yes. We usually end the episode with this because we find it sends people out really happy, but we'll do it here. Do you guys have pets?
Yeah, I've got. I mean, he's the love of my life. I love
Yeah.
my wife, but my dog Hank is. He's kind of a radio silence dog. He was there for the post on Devil's Due at editorial. He was there for all the post on Ready or Not. He's kind of the muse in some ways.
What kind of dog is Hank?
He's a Wheaton Terrier.
My sister has a Wheaton Terrier. They're the sweetest things. The Wheaton smile is a real thing.
He's a one of a kind.
I've got a cat, Minnie. She's my favorite.
Heck yeah.
I do not have a pet at this time, but I will be looking to adopt sometime very soon.
Oh,
And you have
that's
Harley.
exciting.
And I had Harley for 13 and a half years, so. And he was a 3.5-pound bear. Yorkie. But he was awesome.
3.5
He was everything to me. Yeah.
Wow, you actually
3.5 pounds.
You
yeah.
actually got a teacup. Most people buy a teacup, and then it turns out to be 8 to 10
No,
pounds.
I didn't know. It just like, you supposed to grow? And then
was a-
13 years later, he just never grew.
He was also a cartoon dog. Like I feel if you asked a Nickelodeon animator to draw
Right.
a dog, they would draw.
Yeah,
Harley.
yeah.
So the second question we always like to end on is, doesn't matter if it's TV, movies, a book, anything at all. What is something in the horror genre that you have watched recently, whether it's something new, something old, that you want our viewers to know about and check out?
I know mine. It's a French show called Black Spot. I think is Zone Blanche in French. It's on Netflix right now. I watched the first season on Amazon about 2 years ago. And it's a small town in this remote French forest. And it's basically a drama about small town politics, a police force. But in the woods, there's this pagan supernatural force that's happening that the town is trying to keep a secret. And I've just been obsessed with it because it touches things like Twin Peaks, because it's about a missing girl in the first thing. But then it combines, it goes there when other shows did not go there. Like the mysticism of season 1 of True Detective. And then it will explain it, like, patterns of birds flying in the sky, and then seeing this pagan ritual take place towards the end of the first season, and season 2 it was a lot of fun, and I'm still working through season 2 right now.
Sold. I feel like this is good
feel like-
content to download for our flight to Washington.
I don't think that's a very long flight, but
It's like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's 2.5 hours. You get 5 hours back and forth.
to the New York flights. Where you
I
get
am.
like
I
a whole
am.
show
Where
in.
I can binge an entire season
yeah,
of something.
Exactly. I just added that to my queue, so I'm very excited
Yeah,
to
it's
hear
great.
that.
It's fun.
Nice.
I'm in the middle of a deep dive podcast on Halloween that Amy Nicholson is doing.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard it. It might be from like a year or two ago. It's after the new Halloween. I don't know when. I just found it though. It's so good. I'm like 6 episodes in maybe, and it is like everything you ever wanted to know about Halloween. I'm loving it.
I'm rereading a good book called Slade House by David Mitchell. That is an awesome, weird take on a haunted house. And it sort of reads like an anthology. It's the same house over, I think it's 50 or 60 years. And every 9 or so years,
decade, yeah.
the house invites a new guest into it, and they go through this sort of crazy psychological experience that ultimately ends with their soul being taken.
Ooh.
But you live with the character through like all of the terror of that, and it's a really great, weird book.
That sounds very cool.
I like the sound of that,
Yes.
given how much running I have ahead of me. I already have the audiobook
There
button
you go.
queued up. Not as long as my flight, but I'll be running for hours, so I'll take care of that one.
I like that we just use our talent for recommendations.
Yeah, pretty
So,
much.
like,
What about
you
added
guys? What do you got?
things to my
Yeah, what
list.
do you
Yes.
watching?
What are you watching right now? or listening to or
Haley
reading?
hears about this all the time. It has nothing to do with genre, but I have recently and very lately become obsessed with. My dad wrote a porno. Have you ever heard of that?
I thought
Took me a beat, but I have not seen it.
No, not
watching
like
it.
my dad. The podcast where like the host, his father wrote a porno, and they basically read it through chapter by chapter. But that's basically like morning run and night now I have to listen to an episode. It is the
Pretty great.
funniest thing.
And it's
actually
real,
thought you
right?
were
It's
gonna-
not.
Yeah, no, it's the
Okay,
real
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
He really
That's
wrote
amazing.
that, and they've been doing it for seasons and seasons. And now they have a live show that tours the world and an HBO
Oh, shit.
special.
Oh,
it's
that's
huge.
amazing.
Yeah.
Must be a
That's
real
great.
good
It
porno
is
we wrote.
It's the exact opposite, but
Right.
it produced a great podcast.
Wonderful.
I thought you were going to say Downton Abbey, actually.
Oh God!
Because that also
I
fit the
had
description
to
you
push
teed up.
pause on Downton Abbey to
Aw,
start
dang.
prepping for TIFF and for North
Fair
End, but I'm
enough.
gonna get back to it because I did really like it.
Awesome.
Me, gosh. I don't like when the pressure's on me. What have I watched? We watch so much, I forget about them.
We do.
Isn't that terrible?
We watch quite a bit.
Well, I already gave you guys 3 recommendations out of Fantasia. I'm taking
That's
those
true.
back.
That's true.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Very
Fantastic.
fair point. Guys, thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time today. I'm going to say it again, even though if you're still with us, you should have seen Ready or Not by now. But just in case, and in case you want to tell everybody you know, it hits theaters August 21st. Check it out. Don't miss it. Thank you again for your time. Is there anywhere our viewers can find you on social media, Instagram, Twitter, anything like that?
Yeah, the Radio Silence is High Radio Silence, HI Radio Silence on all of the socials. What few
Right.
socials
We are not
use
very
for
good,
Yeah.
but we do respond to emails.
And then our name, all the other socials are Tyler Gillett, Matt Bettinelli-Olpin, Chad Villella.
Yep.
Come say hi.
All right.
Yeah,
check
please
them
do.
out.
Send us sequel pitches.
Yes. Yes, please
I mean,
do.
I think we got our winner. So.
I like the sound of that. Haley, where can everyone find you on the Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff?
You can find me on Twitter at Haley Fouch and Instagram at Haystack McGroovy.
And I am at Peanut Ruff on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you again for listening or watching this episode. You have officially survived the Witching Hour.